Well, well, well. We are here. And just like that, we made it through season one, entirety of the OG Sex and the City. And I'm here to bring you 1999 season two of Sex and the City. Episode by episode, we're going to go through it. We're going to recap. We're going to reanalyze and we're going to try to make sense of what happened in the reboot. And just like that, that is the series. That's what I do. And I'm so glad that you're here with me and you're enjoying these videos. We've made it through 1998. And now we're going to start with the first episode of season two named Take Me Out to the Ball Game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. Yeah, I told you I was not going to sing, but I can't help myself. I'm actually enjoying this. Now, for context, for anybody who's new and has not been familiar with what's going on, I started to watch Sex and the City back in 1999 in this actual episode, season two, episode one, because I had friends that were very much into the Sex and the City and they had already passed the first season. So I was curious to see what this show was about. And I said, let me plug this in and figure out how this works. I think it was one of those times where cable was giving out free access because I didn't have HBO at the time, but there's sometimes, I believe, once a year that they allow you to sample different cable networks that for free. So I just happened to pick this up and I was not very enthralled by the show because I kept hearing about the whole Samantha situation and how innovative and fast forward and all this wonderful stuff that everybody was telling me about. And this episode, I didn't understand the complexity of what was going on in any of the ladies. I had not known who Mr. Big was until this one. And I didn't understand the whole hoopla about Samantha because she was in a relationship actually when this started. So my friends, my girlfriends had decided that I needed to catch up with season one to get the full understanding. Now I did, and I recapped everything. And now I feel like I'm in a comfort zone. I'm in my wheelhouse because now I feel much better to understand at this point in 1998, when 1999 came around. I was like, okay. And now I'm in my real house now because this is where I started. This was the beginning to me for all of it. So that's the short recap and understanding of what's happening right now. And I am going to bring you in the next clips the introduction of 1999. Where were we in fashion, tech, political news, US, global, etc. Now, I won't be on camera. You will hear my voiceover while I show the clips. And I'm just going to give you full disclosure. I hate reading off scripts. It's not something that I enjoy personally. I am getting better at it because I know there's value in it. So if I make any grammatical errors or pronunciation errors, do forgive me, because I don't like to re-record and re-record and re-record. I feel more comfortable coming off the cuff like this and being more natural and speaking what's on my mind without having to read a script. It just flows a little bit better for me, especially when I'm recapping things. I don't really keep a script. I just try to memorize what I've watched and interpretate and include what my feelings were. But because there's so many things that had happened in the 1999 and beyond, I couldn't do that on camera and not script it. So if I sound a little crazy or I sound scripty, is that a word? Is that a verb? Is that an adjective? What is that? Did I just make that up? I'm getting better at it. So also how we are structuring this is that every new season that start is a new year. So if you want to go back to 1998, check out my first video. You'll see where we were in actual news. And like I said, fashion tech in 1998. And then I start the series 1999. It's be the same thing. And then when we get into the further new seasons, every new first episode will have this inclusivity of what happened that year of. And it's going to go emotionally raw. It's going to have a lot of details that I even forgot. So, are you ready? Welcome to 1999. Where were you? Did any of these things that you're about to see resonate? Did you remember? Did you forget? Did I forget something? Let me know what you want me to add in the next new year, which will be 2000, probably in 6 weeks. But I hope you enjoy the next clip because after that, we'll get into the series, the first season of Sex and the City. Take me out to the ball game. Stay tuned. Let's go back into time again. My favorite part of doing these videos. This time, we're traveling back into 1999, a year packed with massive pop culture moments, political shifts, tech explosion, and some unforgettable fashion, and of course, some Hollywood drama. So buckle up. This trip might trip you out just a bit. Let's kick things off with the movies. The top film of the year was Star Wars, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It was everywhere. Whether you loved it or rolled your eyes at Jar Jar Binks, this movie crushed the box office, pulling in over $400 million in the US alone. It was the comeback of Star Wars, and the hype was very real. Now, back in television in 1999, it was also iconic. Rating-wise, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was one of the top primetime shows. Regis Philbin saying, "Is that your final answer?" became the national catchphrase. It certainly did, because I know I used it a lot and I annoyed everybody while I was doing it. Culturally, you had The Sopranos changing television forever, and The West Wing making politics look cool and dramatic. And I have to say, I never watched that show until recently, and it was one of the best shows I never watched when it came out, and I'm so happy that I finished it and watched it. It was phenomenal. TV was seriously leveling up. Moving over to music, the number one song of 1999 was Cher, Believe. If you believe in life after love, and I know I promised I wasn't going to sing anymore, but come on, how could you not? This song was so catchphrasy and phenomenal. That auto-tune note, unforgettable. Another monster hit was Britney Spears' Baby One More Time, which basically launched teen pop into another galaxy. And if you were there, you also know this is true. Album-wise, the Backstreet Boys dropped Millennium, which became one of the biggest selling albums of all time, and Santana's Supernatural made a massive comeback mid-year. The late 90s music scene was a perfect storm of pop, comeback legends, and feel-good anthems. And it has been such a year. I wish we can go back and actually have that type of music again. I miss it. In U.S. politics, it also had its own drama. In February 1999, President Bill Clinton was acquitted in his impeachment trial. It was a huge national story, and every news channel was covering it nonstop. Meanwhile, in global politics, Russia was having a huge turning point year. Vladimir Putin started rising fast as a major political figure. By December, as prime minister, he launched Russia's federal government website to share his vision for the country's online, pretty symbolic of the new digital era. And I had no idea until I researched it that he actually did this. Pretty impressive. Speaking of the digital era, tech in 1999 was pretty wild. The world was deep in the dot-com bubble. Internet startups, e-commerce, and broadband infrastructure was exploding. It felt like the future was arriving overnight, and there was not a darn thing we can do to stop it, because the dot-com era was every single place you can find it. It was insane how many companies were dot-commed. But with all that excitement came the fear of Y2K. People genuinely thought computers might crash at midnight when 1999 turned into the year 2000. There were panic buys, survival kits, and endless news coverage. And then nothing happened. But that collective anxiety, so real. I remember this. We were so freaked out. I couldn't believe how and grateful I am that nothing did happen. In fashion was heading straight into the Y2K territory. Metal fabrics, low-rise jeans, slip dresses, tiny sunglasses, and more futuristic you looked, the better. It was shiny, it was bold,
and it was very 1999. And did I partake in this fashion? Yeah, I can tell you that I did, but there's no proof, and I have no pictures, so don't ask. And of course, we can't talk about the year 1999 without some Hollywood gossip. Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were the golden couple of the year. Everyone was obsessed with them. Literally, they were everywhere. It was insanity. Pamela Aniston and Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee Jones were still tabloid regulars, annoying regulars everywhere as well. I didn't like them as a couple, and I'm so glad that they finally gave up. Courtney Cox and David Arquette were couple goals. They were cute. I really didn't see the attraction, but they tried to make it work, and it was okay. And this one was shocking to me because I absolutely had no clue about this. Sheryl Crow and Owen Wilson was a thing. I must have been living under a rock at this time because I had no idea that these two ever were a thing. Did you know about this? Because this was news to me. Oh, and Jerry Seinfeld proposed to Jessica in November and married her holiday wedding move. That was actually kind of sweet. Sadly, Hollywood also lost some legends in 1999. Stanley Kubrick passed away in March, just a few months before Eyes Wide Shut premiered, which, by the way, I did see that movie, and I personally thought it was pretty sucky. Not sure if you were a fan, let me know, but it was not great for me. And one of my favorite film critics, Gene Siskel, also died that year. He was the duo of Siskel and Ebert, and I watched them religiously, and this one saddened me as well. And one of the greatest baseball icons, Joe DiMaggio, passed away also in 1999. Not strictly Hollywood, but definitely a pop culture giant. And he did for baseball, and the Yankees will never be forgotten. And finally, Sex and the City was just hitting its stride. The show premiered in 1998, and by 1999, new seasons were airing, turning Carrie Bradshaw and her friends into cultural icons. It was HBO's moment, and it changed TV forever. And as we go through the rest of the seasons, you will also agree. If you haven't watched it, enjoy. But if you're one of us, like the OG original watchers, you know what I'm talking about. Looking back, 1999 was the end of an era, the last year before everything went digital, fast, and global. Simpler times. Well, kind of. What I can personally tell you, it was the last time you can do things without being caught on camera, video, smartphone. And if you knew what you knew back then, it stayed with you. Now you're exposed to everything. So it was kind of the end of an era. So let's get into the review and recap of season 2, episode 1. Take me out to the ball game of the original Sex in the City. And I will see you very soon. Goodbye.
Well, scene open. Carrie's officially depressed. It is after her big breakup, pun intended, where she left him to go out to the Caribbean that he planned for a trip after he refused to actually acknowledge her in front of his mother and to admit that she is the one. It was tumultuous. I really thought that this was going to be it for her and Mr. Big. As I noted in my last video, I was very naive back then because none of us knew how far and deep this relationship was going to go overall. So I thought it was a great ending to what I perceived at that moment was a very unhealthy relationship. And to this day, I still believe it was. But now Carrie's depressed. So the scene opens where she is literally walking around New York, smoking a cigarette. She looks like crap, understandably so. And she's narrating that, walking around and trying to forget what had happened was very tumultuous for her, and she's literally hallucinating Big in every tall man with dark hair. You see her thinking that she's going to bump into him while she looks like shit. Now, personally, I get the whole I'm depressed. I need time to recoup. I need time to get over the situation. I would not go outside looking the way that she did and chain smoking, because I believe that she's chain smoking at this point. And she can't get over the fact that she can see him at any given time in her mind as a hallucination. We see her smoking again inside her apartment, and her friends, Charlotte and Miranda, decide to come over and take her out because they're tired, especially Miranda, of her moping around crying over Mr. Big. Wonderful. That's how friends should be. As they come over, you hear Miranda saying, "Come on, let's go. We got to get out of here." And she doesn't tell her where they're going. So the premise is that she's going to dress to impress in case she bumps into Mr. Big. This is already obsession level number 2. Okay. Session level number 1 was when she was stalking him and she was obsessed with him, saying that she's the one and all this other stuff, and that she actually told him, "I love you, but I can't go on this trip with you." Session number 2 is the aftermath of when you make the decision that this is not right for you. And now you don't want to be seen, which is ironic because she was trying not to be seen, but she was still outside. You need to look your best in case you bump into him in the streets of New York. Now, granted, it's plausible because if you go to the same places that you always visited, or you know where he's most likely going to be, stalking. Yes. Now, because she doesn't know where she's going, she's putting on all her makeup, and Miranda is telling her, "I need you to stop this madness with Big." Charlotte, on the other hand, we get the Charlotte math relationship breakup rules. It's always a fun time with Charlotte. We always get to hear how she perceives when to get over someone, when you should sleep with someone. I'm telling you personally, I'm going to be honest with you, that if Charlotte was a real character, like a real person, she should write a book. She really should. Because some of the stuff that comes out of her mouth about relationships are pretty interesting. And I think that she would do very well writing this, falsely imaginary math dating rules of when you should sleep with someone and how long it takes for you to get over someone. In Charlotte's mind, you should get over someone in half the time of your actual relationship. So in her math calculation, she dated Big for a year, and she should take 5 months to get over Mr. Big. Should be 6, but we'll go with 5. She doesn't explain how, in the sense that, yes, you should cry your eyes out, talk to your friends, and then one day, magically, like a pill, poof, you're over him. Because after that, I don't understand anything else that really explains how do you get over someone in exactly 5 months. Exactly 5 months. Is there a patch, an injection, a pill, a Zen, yoga? How? Do you just wake up one day and you have the calendar and it's 5 months? I'm up. I'm ready to go. I'm done. That's how she perceivedly told everyone in the room. Great. Now, I can understand Carrie. I've been through that. We all have. Don't lie to me. I know you have. You had that one big love, pun intended, non-pun intended, not Mr. Big, but just a big love. And things don't go well, and you headed straight down a path of depressed. Got it. I have no idea for any one person how long it will take you to get over them. It is your own time frame. Do it healthy is what I can recommend. Sometimes being healthy also means crying, screaming, bitching, and moaning to your friends. What I wouldn't do is obsess over trying to connect with this person or find them or try to bump into them. I just wouldn't. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but I wouldn't. It's a little scary. If I'm depressed, why am I going outside? Now, I don't mind my friends coming over. I just don't see how you're in that state of mind, you're a functioning person. You can be, but it's hard because it rolls back into your mind and you're you're grieving. Let's put it that way. You're grieving. Got it. So as they are leaving, they are actually talking about how she is overdressed. Miranda's saying she's overdressed for where she's taking her, still doesn't know where. And Carrie states that she is trying to avoid looking like crap if she has the off chance of meeting Mr. Big. And Miranda's upset again. She goes, can we stop talking about Mr. Big? Remember, you broke up with him. And Carrie's statement was, and that should make me happy. I get that. Because I broke up with someone doesn't mean that it was my actual choice. I had to for my own well-being. So they're on their way to pick up Samantha. And she is outside with James. And they're kissing. And Charlotte's like, hello, you two lovebirds. Come on. We're going to be late. As James walks her to the cab. James, puts her in the cab. And he says, take care of my princess. And Samantha's like, he's like, I love you. She's like, and I'm like, at this point now in 1999, I got what I was watching in 1998. I'm like, oh, okay, there's something wrong in this relationship. I just didn't know to the extent. She just doesn't look happy as a person. Literally didn't look happy. As they're driving away to the secret location that Miranda has decided to take the girls, all dressed to the nine, Charlotte says, oh, you look so happy. And Samantha's like, yes, we are. Me, James, and his tiny penis are one big happy family. Imagine listening to this for the first time. And I was like, what? Who? What the hell's going on here? Is she dating a tiny penis? I don't get it. And boy, did I get it. Not her. Unfortunately, she never got it. But I got it. Next up, we find out where Miranda's taking the girls for a day out, not even at a club. Stay tuned. Subscribe. Well, we find out where Miranda's taking the ladies. She's taking them to Yankee Stadium for a baseball game. God, I love that. Huge Yankee fan I am as well. Listen, I'm a New York fan, so if the Yankees don't make it, I will be happy with the Mets. I'm just first leaning towards the Yankees. Been to the ball game, been to the stadium. I love it. So, they're all up on probably the last row of the stadium. And the reason why they're there is because Carrie says that this is the only place that she can go to that she can be allowed to smoke, chain smoking, and drink. Samantha's complaining about the seats. And, she's telling the girls, why are we up here? As Carrie was narrating the first part in her head, she says out loud, because this is the only safe place that she's allowed to drink and smoke in the middle of the day without Giuliani putting her in jail. Now, I'm guessing this might have been around the time that Giuliani stopped public smoking. I want to say that. I could be wrong, but I understood the reference. I just didn't go back and fact check this, but it sounds about right. So, Samantha's complaining. She says, these seats suck, this food sucks, and this, my life sucks. Charlotte's like, your life doesn't suck. You have someone that loves you. At this point, Samantha's been dating James for 2 months, which, let me tell you, to her credit, considering what she claims he has, that's pretty good for Samantha. So, one of the things Samantha says, no, my life sucks. I don't think you understand what the issue is. So she pulls off a piece of her hot dog and she shows it to Carrie. She says, how would you like to go to bed every single night with this size of a penis? That was funny. And Samantha, poor Carrie's like, is it kosher? I mean, it was this big. Now, okay, as we noted from the last episode of season 1, the last episode, she says that he has a teeny tiny little penis. It's like a gherkin. First of all, it's 3 inches. Hard. And if that is any representation, that hot dog that she showed her, that piece of hot dog, then I really do give Samantha a lot of credit. Okay? So, Miranda is going over the new Yankee because she's very excited. She's a huge Yankee fan, and she's going over the stats, the baseball stats with the ladies it flies right over their heads because they never watched a game. They don't understand, but Miranda's trying. As Miranda's trying to explain this, Carrie's thinking in her mind, um, I've been here for 10 years dating in New York City. I've dated many men, and that I only have one serious relationship, and all of these relationships has failed, all of them with breakups. And she says if she is a baseball player, she would be batting whatever really, really bad is. I don't even know what it is either, to be honest with you, but I think that it's funny that she narrates this stuff in her head. She, even though writes a column, yes, I'm coughing. The cold comes, it goes. So forgive me if I'm in and out of coughing. Um, she's narrating all the stuff in her head. She's thinking about her lifetime of dating. So as Miranda finishes narrating, a fly ball from the new Yankee that Miranda's very excited about actually goes into their seats, and everybody's screaming that, oh my God, it's coming, and then it finally falls on the floor and Carrie catches it. So Miranda's like, do you know the odds of you catching a fly ball? And I'm like, yeah, that's really rare. But of course, this leads into the storyline, right? Um, the next thing you have is that they're all waiting at the locker rooms because, Carrie has a press pass and she was able to get them in. So they're all waiting to have the new Yankee sign the foul ball that Carrie caught. And poor Miranda, she's like, looking at the players. Great game. Samantha is looking at the package of these players, if you know what I'm talking about. You get my drift. And she says, did you see the bulge on that Yankee? And Miranda's like, he was wearing a cup. And Samantha's like, well, his cup runneth over. They give her some of the best lines, most of the best lines. I love the fact that we interchange Samantha into so many different scenarios. And at the end of the day, she always looks fabulous. She always has the best lines, and she always brings home, pun intended, points that maybe we don't want to think about out loud, but we are forced to because of this show. So the new Yankee comes out of the locker room, and we don't get to know this guy's name. We just know he's the new Yankee. Miranda is fanboying over this guy. And I think it's great that, she's excited about a sports game because, we don't get represented as much as we should in the media, that we do like sports too. And we enjoy it and we're fans. So as she's speaking to the new Yankee, she's saying, my friend here caught your ball. I'm going to say this is one of the best writings, okay, for this season. And this was the first time I was watching it back in 1999 when I was watching. I was like, well, at least their puns are really hitting hard. And the new Yankee's like, you mean that foul ball that I threw? And she's like, yes, I'm a huge fan. I'm a lawyer. And he's like, does that mean that if I don't sign your ball, you're going to sue me? She's like, no, 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 no. She's completely infatuated. And let me tell you, the guy's kind of hot. He's not ugly. He's easy on the eyes. His voice was a little sketchy, a little too high pitched for me, but overall, good looking guy. So Carrie gives him the ball to sign, and he's like, are you a baseball fan? And she goes, no, I actually find the game very dull. I'm only here for the beer. And he's like, oh, really? What do you do? And Charlotte's like, she's a columnist. And Samantha's like, sex. At this point, Samantha's in heat. You do realize this, right? She's in heat. So he's like, that's not dull. And he signs the ball. He walks away. And it just dawned on Carrie that she should ask him to the new Dolce and Gabbana party. And Miranda's like, what? So she runs over and she goes, Yankee, Yankee. Still don't know the name. It's a running theme in this show. And they're forgettable anyway because we never see them again anyway. So, okay. She is inviting him to the Dolce & Gabbana fashion party, and she's running back, and she tells, Charlotte and the girls, I got him to go. And Miranda's like, no, no, this is not the way you're supposed to get over a bad breakup. You don't get over him with the new Yankee. And Charlotte's like, well, yeah, she should. And Miranda's like, but wait, you're supposed to get over him with some balding CPA or equivalent to that. I'm like, I don't think that's true. But I'm glad that she's trying. And as they're leaving, they are asking Samantha to come. And Samantha, in heat, cat on a hot tin roof, literally, stays behind to take a look at the locker rooms of these men. And as she's peering into the locker rooms where they're not dressed, she is looking at all the hot men that are coming by because she is dealing with a teeny tiny little penis at home. And you can see the mirage of men that she's just like slowly peering as the door is slowly closing. And all these men are walking towards her with their baseball bats, for lack of a better word. And and one of them actually looks at her. He goes, "Can I help you with something?" And Samantha can't even get the words out of her mouth as the door finally closes. And I'm thinking to myself, what is going on with this chick? Is this what I should expect from Samantha in all the seasons? Well, little did I know. Little did I know. Next, we get the unofficial breakup rules according to whoever's writing it at that moment. They don't. Ah, the breakup rules according to New Yorkers and now Carrie. As Carrie is narrating as she's back in her home after the baseball trip and her beer buzz is finally over, she's wondering, is Charlotte right? In order to get over a breakup, do you have to do it painfully? Because in her mind, she's in a lot of pain, and that's understandable. So she's writing on her computer. She goes, "What are the breakup rules?" And here we go. Now, my favorite part. When they spread out her actual tagline and it just addresses people that are not the group and they just come up with these funny, funny scenes, we get this one. His rule is whatever you do after you break up, don't cry, because then you will be forever known as the guy who cried. Scary. Then we get this one that says, after you break up, don't call or reach out to him for 3 months because that's the amount of time that it will take for you to lose all the weight that you gained during your breakup. I like her. That makes sense because we do crazy stuff after we break up. We cut our hair, we change our style, we gain weight. We do. I've been through it all. I know you have to. Drop a comment below on what was your breakup scenario, that the worst part that you actually went through and how did it affect you, because I would love to know. Then we get this one of the baseball players, and he goes, "Give her everything that she wants, but don't sign a mother effing thing." I love this guy. He has that accent, that attitude, and you could tell that he knows about a prenup or anything to be signed a thing or two. Then we get this one. Change your name, change your address, change everything about you. And we got these two other guys laughing at her. And she's like, "What? You got something to say? You think this is funny?" With the best New York attitude, regardless of what anybody says. That's a New Yorker for you. What? You think you're funny? You think you're funny? Ha ha funny? You know what I'm talking about. Let me know in the comments if you remember that line and which movie it's from. So now that she has established from the other New Yorkers what their breakup rules are, she's running around Carrie in her apartment because it's the night of the Dolce and Gabbana party that she invited the new Yankee. And she's running 20 minutes behind. So she's running around her apartment as she slips and falls in her hallway closet. And all of a sudden, she's trying to put on, I think, a necklace. And she realizes that she thought she destroyed all the evidence. And she picks up one of the photos of her and Big that she claims that she took from a disposable camera before she thought that they too would be disposable. Did you? Were you? Are you serious? So in her new breakup rule, she says that my new breakup rule is destroy any evidence of whenever we looked happy and he looked sexy. As I'm looking at the picture, I say this again. I didn't find the actor unattractive. Because I love tall, dark, and handsome. And Chris North definitely had the aesthetics, but I never found him to be extremely handsome. Maybe sexy. There's a diff between classically beautiful, beautiful, handsome, sexy. Sexy is a different thing. It's like bedroom eyes, an aura, something about you that screams sexy. Not outwardly beautiful when you see someone and you're like, whoa, there's a lot of people who are like that. I just never was attracted to him specifically. But Carrie, the character, is completely obsessed with this guy. Remember, she's hallucinating things now. And again, it's not because of him. I understand what's going on in her mind. Next up, finally, we're at the Dolce and Gabbana party, and we get to meet the new beau yet again for Charlotte. Again, this time she's not engaged to him, but there's a good reason why. They don't. The Dolce and Gabbana. I cannot understand why I cannot phrase that last word. Gabbana fashion party. My apologies. I hate when I mispronounce things. It drives me insane. I'm a perfectionist that way. So Carrie and Charlotte are at the fashion party, and Carrie is thinking in her mind, she's hoping to run into Mr. Big because she bought a new dress that maxed out her credit card. And she wanted to make sure she looked her fashion best in case he is at the party. So as Charlotte realizes that she sees her new beau, I want to say Tim. I could be wrong. I'm exhausted. It's 4 a.m. I'm recording. Yes. Well, actually, it's 3 a.m. It takes me about an hour to record. So if I seem a little off kilter, my apologies to you all. I'm just a little tired, but I wanted to bring this to you because I thought it was hilarious. So as they're walking over to meet the new Yankee, her date, Carrie, and her Charlotte's new beau, um, what I find hysterical about this show is that each one of these guys that any one of them dates always has a problem. Always. It's, I, hmm, I don't wonder. I know men do this a lot. They always nitpick on something about a woman. Either, and I'm recalling a Jerry Seinfeld episode, either their hands are too big, they have man hands, or, they look different in different lighting. Jerry always had a problem with any woman that he had tried to date. And it's almost the same thing, except for now we got four of them that are back crap crazy. They're always nitpicking at these guys, but this one was a real nitpicker. You'll see. So as they get introduced, I guess the new beau of Charlotte was already speaking to the new Yankee, and he was saying, "Can you believe this guy?" Because he's a VP of a music, classical, and jazz division. Which, by the way, I appreciate some of the jazz and music reference and throughout the series. They do a really good job. Unlike it just like that. Let's not get into that. It'll be epilogue. So he's telling everyone that I can't believe this guy has never heard of Miles Davis. Even I've heard of Miles Davis. My God. For real. And the Yankee's like, I'm just not into that jazz stuff. And he's like, I will give you an album, and I can't remember the name of the album, and it will turn your life around. As he's explaining to them, he's grabbing his balls in front of everybody, not trying to shy away, not trying to hide it, nothing. And Carrie is stunned by him and his balls touching. And poor Charlotte realizes what's happening, and she grabs him and tries to stop him from continuously grabbing his balls in public. And of course, Carrie's line, and this is a great one, she goes, "And here we are, me and the new Yankee and our new ball players." Oh my God. I'm trying not to laugh because if I laugh, I'll cough, and I don't want to continuously cough on screen. But that was actually funny. So she turns around and she looks across the way, and she thinks, hallucination again, that she sees Mr. Big. Literally anyone at this point, because after she realizes this is not Mr. Big, they show the real guy, and he doesn't even look as tall as Mr. Big. This is some strong hallucinations that she's having right now. And she realizes that it wasn't him, and she starts to lean up against the Yankee as he grabs her. And the next scene is that she's walking down the street with Mr. Yankee, and she's decided that since she didn't get to see Mr. Big, he didn't make an appearance, she's going to give this guy a try. And she finds out his name. His name is Joe. To me, I thought automatically Joe DiMaggio, as I put in my, 1999 reference that he had passed away and he was the Yankee Clipper. And I thought that was a nice touch if it was made that way, but I thought it was nice. It was written that way. It was great. So she is talking to him, and she's like, trying to flirt. She's flirting. Carrie's flirting with the guy. I could only tell you this. As she stops to look at him and they start speaking, The only thing I can tell you is that the one thing I noticed, and I didn't notice it back then because it hadn't happened yet, was the vision of the Twin Towers in the back of that scene. My hair stood up, and it still does now. And even when I would just rewatch it, I'm like, whoa, what a beautiful, beautiful sight that was. As Carrie's trying to flirt with the Yankee, they start to kiss and they lean in. And I couldn't get over that vision. It was this, you had to be there at night walking to get the full girth of these towers and just Manhattan overall. And it was just a beautiful scene. And it just brought me back really hard because we're going to get into that in year 2001 when it happened, actually. But we're in 1999, remember? And I also, as a footnote, part of the series in episodes series one, most of my friends were there Friday night with me because I was forced to watch the actual season one to understand what was going on in season two. Guess what? My friends are still here. We made this a ritual. We made it a ritual where Lena was going to watch Sex in the City. And as the years started to grow and I started to find an infinite love for the show, it became much more tolerable because they weren't breathing down my neck every episode. They had already seen season two partially, so they wanted to stay with me and watch season two as I started to grow into it. And I'm going to tell you, this episode, though I watched it first after rewatching season one, this was starting to get to the turning point for me to get more familiar and more comfortable watching this show and actually start to like it very much. I actually enjoyed it because, it just made sense to me now. And before I was just like, what in the hell is going on? Back at the truck up. Now, as we get into this, I appreciate it. And now that I see this even more now and I see all the beautiful New York references, it just brings me back into a time when we were different. I'm not going to say innocent because there's nothing innocent about me. Shh, don't say anything. But it was a simpler time. And I know every generation says that, but it really was. Next up, Samantha and her arc and the good old fashioned try that she is doing her best to play with the hot dog or the mini Frank or the gherkin or the teeny tiny little penis James relationship that she's holding on for dear life. They do. It's the next day after the Dolce and Gabbana fashion party. I finally said it correctly. And the girls are doing their Saturday morning ritual, which is breakfast and some deep dive conversation about what's going on in their lives. And watching this now brought me back to my morning ritual, which was Saturday morning going out to a diner with my son. And he was 3, at this point 4. So every Saturday morning after my Friday nights with the girls, I would take him out to a diner. And I don't know why. It just gave me the warm and fuzzies when I thought about it because it's just something that I really enjoyed. Let me know what was your rituals with your friends or your kids or your husband or boyfriends or whatever it was. But that was one of my rituals. And that's one of the things I appreciated about this show because even watching it back then, I would actually get warm and fuzzy because I knew the next morning I would get up and I would take my son, just he and I alone, and having breakfast because it was something that he enjoyed doing with me. And I miss those days. Oh, okay. Getting out of nostalgia. So as they're trying to have their breakfast, Charlotte is looking at, I'm going to guess the New York Times because she points out that on page 6, Carrie is photographed with the new Yankee. And she's considered, Carrie Bradshaw, the sexpert and the new Yankee. And Charlotte and Carrie and Samantha are really happy to hear about it. And Miranda is not. Can you please explain to me what is happening with Miranda's hair? What? I couldn't help but notice that. Is she trying to be a punk rocker? I didn't understand what was happening with the hair situation there. I don't know who was styling her back then, but it was not a good look. So she's very excited as she's trying to break the actual, speaking of, the reason why she's on page 6 and that Samantha states that, oh, that dress, honey, paid for itself because when Mr. Big sees you in the newspaper, he's going to be jealous. And of course, Carrie's like, I don't want him to be jealous. And she's like, oh, he's going to die. I don't want him to die. And poor Charlotte, poor Miranda Woo, too many at one time. She's like, hey, take a look at my new Palm Pilot. I'm like, oh, back then I didn't know what the hell a Palm Pilot was because I didn't even have a cell phone. I had a beeper. Don't judge me. Smartphones were not as smart back then. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, does anybody remember the Palm Pilot? So she's trying to distract them with the new Palm Pilot and no one's listening. And Charlotte is going on about Mr. Big and Miranda's like, can we stop talking about Mr. Big? He hurt her. That's it. We're not going to talk about him anymore. Those were the days when the girls were really together, right? I mean, Miranda was really, really, protecting Carrie. You know what happens in just like that. So, she's like, can we talk about anything else other than, Mr. Big? And they're like, sure. And then they're all quiet at the table because they have absolutely nothing else to talk about except for their relationships. And then Charlotte says, I have a problem with my boyfriend. Miranda gets up. She goes, that's it. I'm going to go get the check. I'm like, this seems a little bit overprotective, if you ask me, but we find out why. Charlotte is expressing to the two remaining amigas that she has a problem with her boyfriend, and Samantha's like, yeah, I know. He's always grabbing his balls. And Charlotte's like, how do you know? She goes, Carrie told me. And Carrie's like, I had to. I didn't understand what was going on. I still don't understand what's going on. And Charlotte is ranting. She goes, I don't know. I don't know why he constantly needs to be touching his balls. He comes from a good family. He went to Brown. Why is he doing this? And Samantha's like, maybe he has a pair of low hangers. If there's any guys watching, explain this to me. I can visualize what's going on. What's happening? So Charlotte's like, well, check his, Samantha's like, check his balls. And she's like, I haven't seen his balls yet. And Samantha's like, you've been dating this guy for 3 weeks and you haven't even seen his balls? This was all baseball references, obviously. She goes, no, I haven't. Miranda comes back and she goes, what are we talking about? And they all say, Charlotte's boyfriend's balls. Miranda loses it. She says, okay, that's it. What's going on? Why do we constantly have to be talking about men? We're smart women. You're going to tell me that we can't have a conversation at all without having to speak about, Mr. Big or balls or boyfriends? Why does it always have to be about them? Why can't it be about us? It's like 7th grade with credit cards. 7th grade, talking about boys, balls, and boyfriends. Not sure if I was dating in the 7th grade. That seems a wee bit young for me. Was it for you? Were you dating in 7th grade? I was in Catholic school. I was on the choir. Yes, I sang. Whether you like my singing or not, I was in the choir. I don't recall talking about boys to my friends. I know after the 8th grade and 9th grade, I was definitely talking about it, but 7th grade seems a little young, don't you think? So she is ranting and raving, and she says, give me a call when you guys want to talk about something else other than men. She stomps away, and they're all looking at her, and they're all looking at each other, and they're like, okay, next scene. Oh my God, how am I going to get through this? Samantha is going to give it a try with James. So she's in bed with James, and she's what Carrie narrates, the 7th home stretch, baseball reference. She's instructing James on how to have relations. And we go on to this myriad of scenarios of Samantha trying to get as much out of her kosher or non-kosher gherkin Frankfurter James scenarios. I'm trying not to laugh. She's hilarious. She's telling him to get on top of me, slide, do this, do that. And James is like, okay. And at the end of this myriad of coaching, as as Carrie says in her narration, the last ninth inning, Samantha has to bring in a pinch hitter, and you hear her vibrator going off, or I should say rabbit. We're gonna go with rabbit. I already said vibrator, but let's coin the phrase rabbit. And James is like, "What is that?" And she's like, "It's my rabbit. I thought it might be fun." And James is like, "I think it'd be more fun if it's just you and I." Samantha is, that's it. She's given up. She realizes that this, no matter how much coaching, how many innings, how many strikes, how many balls, whatever the hell's going on in the baseball reference department, this is not going to work. So she is just laying there as he is enjoying the crap out of himself alone with his Frankfurter gherkin, kosher, not kosher. I love Samantha. I love her. I love the fact that they write her to be true to herself. And I didn't realize and appreciate it when I saw this episode for the first time getting into the series. But as I understood and I started tying the knots, I'm like, they really tried. Hey, it's better than nothing. Oh my God, Charlotte. Charlotte and her jazz musician, ball banger player. Let's see what happens. Stay tuned. Ah, Charlotte and her ball player. We see Charlotte and her ball player kissing in her apartment, and she stops to tell him that she brought him a gift. She goes into her bedroom and she pulls out a box that says Barney. And she says, "I was at Barney's today and I bought you a gift." Now, I didn't realize back then what product placement meant, obviously. I guess this was the beginning of influencing and influencers. And I'm guessing, I could be wrong, many of the things that we see throughout the course of the series with the name dropping and the product placements were paid to be on the show, which could have given them the influx of money to keep this show running. Because obviously, if you're going to use the name, I'm going to presume, I could be wrong, that a lot of these things were used specifically for money. So as she's telling him to open the box, he opens the box. And in the narration of Carrie, Charlotte brought him, it could be a simple fix for his ball grabbing issue, which is boxers or brief. So she's telling him that she was speaking to a salesperson, and the salesperson said that these were the best. It was like the Wonder Bra for men. I don't know if the Wonder Bra still exists. I personally never needed to use that, obviously, but I remember this was huge. This was, I mean, more so than the surgeries, the breast surgeries, increasing surgeries. A lot of women were really much into the Wonder Bra. Let me know if you've ever tried it, if it's still around. But it was hilarious. The second product placement I heard in this episode, which was hysterical. And this guy got offended. He's like, "Whoa, we haven't even slept together yet, and you're buying me gifts?" And she's like, he goes, "Why?" And she can't express why. And Carrie's narration is saying that she couldn't tell him why she did this, due to foul balls. This was good. I like when they do that. It's kind of funny. And the guy is like, first you buy me gifts, then you move in, and then you hate my music, as he's trying to walk out of the bedroom and grabbing his balls. And he leaves. And the narration from Carrie, that was it. That was the last time she saw him, after 3 weeks of dating, and just true to form to Charlotte and Charlotte's relationship math, according to her, she was over him in a week and a half. How? I don't know. I still want to understand science. The hell with the catchphrase. Tell me, explain me. Tell me how you get over someone. You just wake up and a light switch goes off, because I would buy that light switch today. So The next scene you have is Miranda. Carrie's narrated again that Miranda, whenever she has something on her mind, she just goes for a walk in New York City and get lost in the faces and the areas that she's walking. I can totally understand that. Walking through Manhattan when it's not raining, snowing, cold, and just enjoying the walk is such a relief. I don't know if anybody else felt that. Whether you're going through Central Park, you're going to the East or West Village, you're just walking around in your neighborhood, even if it doesn't have to be New York, Manhattan, it could be anywhere in the area. There's just something about just getting lost in the day and just walking around looking at the places and faces that for me is a mood changer. So as she's walking by these two girls, one of the girls is like, I don't understand. I don't understand why he didn't call me. I thought we had a connection. I thought he liked me. I remember those days when I was 17. And as the narration goes, Miranda believes that she's the only one with a good perspective on men until today, where she now sees her ex-boyfriend, the love of her life, with the woman that he cheated on her with. Now I'm understanding what was the attitude that Miranda was giving to the girls at the diner. She, on top of the fact that she was trying to really protect Carrie, this guy was someone she dated in her past that was the love of her life and cheated on her. And she just was hurt the same way that Carrie was hurt. And it affected her so much that she's trying to hide from them as she's watching them. And I felt for her. I know that feeling. I remember those days. It's like, I can understand Carrie, I can understand Miranda, and now it ties into why Miranda was being such a hard ass to the girls. Next scene we have Carrie and Joe, the Yankee, at a bar, and he's trying to teach her how to catch, I'm going to say peanuts, right? Playing game at the bar game. I don't know if this is a real bar game. Do you guys do that at a bar? I've never done that. So as she's trying to catch it, she turns around. And I said to myself, my God, please don't let this be another freaking hallucination, because at this point she needs therapy. She really does. It's Mr. Big. And she narrates, just when you do, you cannot stop thinking about him for a second, because when you do, that's when you really see him. And I'm like, thank God it's really Mr. Big. So as he's making his way over to her and Joe, she's nervous, and they start doing this little tittle tattle talking. Oh, I was going to call and all this other stuff. And she says, oh, let me introduce you to Joe. And this thing about not finding out Mr. Big's name really goes out through the entire series, because she introduces Joe without introducing Mr. Big's real name at all. And Mr. Big takes out his hand and says, oh, I know who he is. I'm a big fan. Good luck in the new season. Right? Okay, I'm like, so we're not going to get his name. Got it. I didn't realize how far they were going to do this, but they kept doing this. So one of the things that happens is that Big puts his arm on her shoulder and leans in. I saw your picture in the paper. You never looked so beautiful. And you hear Carrie's heartbeat as he's touching her. I feel the coldness and warmness going through my body. I did have a love of my life. I can say that was an effect whenever I bumped into him, where I felt that angst, that powerful angst. As he's walking away, the camera slow motion watches her face. And as he's walking away, she's just like, I was like, this girl's got it bad, real bad. The next scene is that she's walking in the street with Joe, and Joe is saying, hey, my couple of my buddies are at a bar at Bleecker. Do you want to go? And she goes, yeah. And he goes, hey, and he starts to kiss her, and she cries literally in his mouth, and she's visibly upset. And he's like, what's wrong? She goes, I'm just not ready. That guy, that suit guy, again, no name, at the bar, and she can't tell Joe what's going on. She goes, I'm just not ready. And go to the bar with your friends. I'm going to go home and take a cab. Go home. He goes, do you want me to drive? He goes, no. And she's trying to push this guy away. And she's like, listen, stop being nice to me. Okay. Just go. And he refuses because he's a gentleman. And he's like, let me help you. And she's like, well, if you're not going to go, I'm going to go. And she walks away. I want to be clear on this. I get that she's completely infatuated with Mr. Big. It's been a month since the breakup. She was in this relationship by herself for a year, because she was. She just gave up a relatively handsome guy who makes money, because these ball players make money, for Mr. Big, who could not tell her, one, I love you back. Two, you're the one. Three, introduce her to his mother just a month ago. Now, I say this because, girl, do you know what you're giving up? I completely understand that you're still depressed. Go get some antidepressants. Go with the ball player. You. Next, the last scene. And this one moved me to tears because I understood this. They don't. The last scene. And I'm fair warning you now. I might ugly cry. I will try to contain myself, but this one was emotional. So as Carrie narrates that she didn't go home when she tried to get rid of Joe and took a cab, which she told him she was going home. Instead, she went to a payphone. And I say this specifically because that's what she says. And I remember, my God, there are no more payphones in New York. I don't think there's any payphones, or if they are, they're very, very sporadic. But it goes to show you the time before the digital age, the smartphone age. It was really, really a good time to be alive. I'm sorry. I love my phone. I'm so grateful that I can actually do these videos on my phone, not on a camera. But there's just something about the time before we were recorded, caught on camera, as I noted in my, retrospective of the 1999, where everything was still relatively private. So kudos to the writers, because this was really written well, in the sense that we hear that she's speaking to someone on the phone and she says to this person, listen, I know that we're in a really bad place right now, but I really, really need to speak to you. Meet me in our place in 15 minutes. At that moment, when I was watching this the first time, I had no idea who she was calling. I actually thought she was calling Mr. Big. I was like, oh God, she caved in. That's it. She lost it. As you see her going into the diner, I was like, okay, their place is the diner. And she's panning around looking for the person that she called. And as she finally turns around, the waitress moves away and you see Miranda sitting there waiting for her. Oh, the tears are coming. So Carrie is starting to walk over to her, and she's walking over to her and she sits down. She says, I saw Mr. Big and I completely lost it. And I know you want me to get over him. And Miranda cuts her off. She goes, don't worry about it. We could talk about this. That was my thing. She saw her ex-boyfriend, Rick. She explains to Carrie. And after 2 years, she couldn't even handle it either. She started to hide from him, which, by the way, it meant a lot, because now she understands and she says, I've forgotten how hard it was after 2 years. And Carrie looked at her and was like, okay. And, they start to she takes the fries and she says, the fries are cold. And Miranda's like, and so what? And as they're eating, the camera pans out to outside of the diner through the blinds, and you can hear Carrie, which is one of her last breakup rules, is no matter how hard, no matter how much time has gone by after a breakup, you will not be able to get over it without your friends. And that's so true. And I remember my friends, we were there and we broke down and we held each other's hands and we gave each other a hug, because at that time they were going through their own crap that I had to be there for them. And I remember when the love of my life broke my heart, each and every one of them, they were not as hard as Miranda was, but they never made me feel less than. And they gave me the biggest hugs, love that I can ever want. And it goes back to what I said. The show was not about the sex. The show was about the bond of these women and how they pulled through for each other Some a little bit more different and difficult than others, but that's what the show needed because it needed the different aspects of each of these women. It couldn't be that they all had the same thought and the same process. Samantha had her way of getting over things. And, Charlotte in Charlotte La La Land, she definitely had her opinions. And then you had Miranda, the cynic, who, is the one that I always felt that she had the better bond with. And it was very important for her to keep that relationship with her because she needed that push. So, next up, epilogue. They don't. Epilogue. So, how does this tie into And Just Like That? Well, on the broader scale perspective, what I now can tell you today, what irritated me the most about And Just Like That was the scene. I can't remember what episode, but I know Aiden was already in the picture and, Carrie was infatuated with Aiden at this point. And it was another walking down the street scene with Miranda. And Carrie tells Miranda that she thought that big was a big mistake because she never had these intense feelings and intense orgasms that she ever had with anybody other than Aiden. She felt at that moment that with Big gone, she was able to allow herself to be free of him and now really enjoy Aiden. Watching this and realizing the amount of obsession that she had over Big throughout every season, through the movies, and then losing him and Just Like That, and what happened with Aiden, which we'll get into, it still annoys me a lot because if you really think about the fact that she was so deeply obsessed with this man for no other reason than she couldn't have him. Because yes, he might have checked off the wealthy and he was tall and in her mind sexy, but he never gave her what she really wanted. Not even the wedding that she wanted. Okay. We'll go back to that, and maybe after the wedding and after the movie, the 22 years between the movie and the reboot, there was some sort of connection there. But in Just Like That, they never showed us that. And one of the things that frustrated me the most on the opening of And Just Like That, it was the fact that we got to see a small glimpse of their relationship. Her and Big finally settled into their marriage. She's cooking salmon for the first time. I saw her using utensils and actually cooking in the kitchen, which was big for her. I would have liked to have seen in the first episode of And Just Like That a retrospective of what happened after the movie until we got to the first part of the first season of the first episode of And Just Like That. It would have been nice if they would have done a quick montage of how everybody got along, what was their process after the movie and the 22 years, even to the point of what happened with her and Samantha, what happened, how did the relationship go with Big, how did they get to this place, Miranda and Steve, what made them so contentious, especially Miranda, Charlotte and her arc with her family, growing up, being a parent. It would have been something nice just to tail end the movie and bring us into the new reboot and give us a time frame of in the past 22 years, so and so, and just show different clips. It would have softened the blow a little bit and maybe brought us all back in because so many of us were so excited for the reboot. I would have expected a little something other than introducing all these new characters. Charlotte, completely different person, and she's only thinking about having a party and not having any black friends other than, what's her name? Wilma Flintstone. If you don't know that reference, go take a look at my And Just Like That review. You know who I'm talking about. With Seema and all that. And then Big dies. I would have probably appreciated his death in episode 2. Had they at least done something in episode 1 to bring us back into this new generation of what was going on. And then the episode 3, the funeral. But it was just so quick, so cut off. And then we get introduced to all these new people. And And when I say new people, legitimately, even the main characters were new people. I know that you all can agree with me on that because all of you came here with me on the journey of And Just Like That because we were not hate watching. We were sad watching. We were disappointed watching. We were like, this really can't be what this series has become. And I go back to this is why. It's out there and you're never going to get rid of it. This is why. The friendship, the love, the bonding, they're there for you, the pushing, the arguments, bringing you back down to reality. You know, that is what made this show so great. And somewhere, Michael Patrick King, Sarah Jessica Parker, even, Kristen Davis, Cynthia Nisk, they all lost the point and the plot of the series. All of them. Because they were nowhere near to the level. It was like we were reverting back to a darker time that we never saw because when we saw the series, they had already bonded. They were doing rituals, breakfast, having conversations. No, the show would have never been the same without Samantha, obviously. And they tried desperately with Seema, clearly. But they could have done some good trying to not relive because that's wrong, trying to stabilize and capture moments that were genuine because none of the moments in And Just Like That were genuine. None of them. None. I don't care who. I'm not going to go on a rant because y'all all know how I feel. Y'all all here because of And Just Like That. Right? Because we were just watching this show go down to the final episode in season 3 down the shitter toilet. And for the love of this show and this series that we're going to get into deeper, I'll ugly cry again. We will see the progression of each one of these ladies. We'll see how the hell they made Big work, which was fake, and what she did to Aiden, and everything else in between. And forever, this show will be the time capsule of where we were back in each of those years and those seasons, and the time capsule of what true love and friendship should look like. And if you are lucky, then, now, tomorrow, to find friends like that will have your back, you are lucky. Even if it's a male or not, you're lucky. Those are your ride and dies. So, for my beautiful, beautiful people, thank you again. I can't tell you how much I love you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I truly do. So, a couple of things. I am getting over the final stages of this cold. I had to get on a Z-Pack. So, apologize for the coughing. I may be a little lethargic. It is, again, very early in the morning. This was more emotional than funny. The ones that are funny, I will be funnier. I promise you. Last thing, a couple of more things I want to say. Listen, has anybody watched this new show? And it's not new because it's been on for a while. The Morning Show on Apple Plus streaming. The only reason why I caught this show is because the first season was thrown onto Amazon Prime because I refused to get another streaming service. I've already subscribed to Amazon Prime because I'm a Prime member. I have HBO and Disney, and those are the only 3 that I have. I think I have Peacock because I like to watch Chicago PD. So the other day I was looking for something to watch, right, other than this, and I saw The Morning Show, and I had heard about it very, very lightly. I know Jennifer Aniston is in it. I had no clue what this show was about. Now, that's odd for me because I love journalism. Let me know if you have seen this show. I would love to do a review of this show. I am just about finishing season 1, and there's 4 seasons to it. The 4th one just came out. Somehow in this melee of getting through in Sex and the City, I would love to start a review on The Morning Show. Let me know if that's something that you're interested in. Have you heard about it? Do you know anything about it? Are you subscribed to Apple Plus? You watch it? Because it's a very interesting concept. Okay. As always, thank you. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, engaging, sharing, everything. The YouTube algorithm is still wonky, but I'm still here. And I want you to all have a beautiful, beautiful, blessed weekend and week. 3 videos next week. We're going to get through the season. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye. Mwah.